Welcome back to part 2 of the tasting series with the Cune Portfolio Manager. If you missed part 1, go back to the previous video and check it out. We'll be launching a new wine and episode every Thursday for the series until it ends. Without further ado, let's do part 2.
So now we're gonna go to Rioja. So Rioja, it's really where everything started, as I was saying before, back in 1879. Most of the production that comes out of Rioja, for the most part, is red wine, and that's what a lot of people are familiar with. But there is a small percentage of Rioja that it's also dedicated to white wine and rosé. So not a lot of people know about it, and sometimes people get impressed. They said, "Oh, white Rioja! I didn't know there was white wine in Rioja." But there is. It's not a lot, but there is a little bit of white wine. So today we actually have one white from Rioja and one rosé. So starting with Monopole.
Can I help myself?
Yeah, please go ahead.
So Monopole Blanco Seco Rioja, this one right here, and this is a 2020 vintage as well. Okay.
So Monopole is Cune's white wine brand, and the first vintage of Monopole was actually 1915. So it's been around for
really?
a little bit over 100 years. So a big reference for us in Rioja, this brand and this white wine. And obviously throughout the years, Monopole has changed a lot in style. There was a time where it was aged in oak for a long time. In the 60s, it was actually blended with manzanilla sherry from Sanlúcar de Barrameda, from the south of Spain. But this is kind of like the style that the winery took kind of like in the 70s, mid-70s, where they decided to kind of like go away from, oak, go away from, malolactic fermentation, and just do a very pure Viura white wine. So it's 100% Viura, that's the name of the grape. It doesn't have any oak either, it's all stainless steel. And again, the idea is to really show the character of the Viura grape, and to have a wine that is fresh and easy to drink and fun.
Are these, so how old were you saying? They started making wine since 1915, but the vine is not that old, is it?
They have a different, they have different age vines. These Viura vines are anywhere from 20 to 50 years old. And back in the day, they had other varieties that they would blend with the Viura, but today is 100% Viura.
That's awesome. Most people can't see it because you're facing this way, but I'm looking at the back of the label, and I just caught something very interesting, especially on the back of this one. There's a little symbol that says vegan. So is that a new thing, or can you tell me a little more about what's going on with the whole vegan?
It's a lot of the wines, they use animal products for clarifying the wine. And we've been kind of like the winery has been like going away from that for a few years. At first, we didn't find it important to let people know, but as we learn more about also the U.S. market, we realize that people, really care about, the wine being vegan. And for those that have, that are vegan or want to move away from, the animal products, it really helps to know that information. So we've been putting it on the back of the label so people, can have access to it and can see it easily.
That's amazing. I love it. Like, that's very thoughtful, because I do have clients who look for vegan wine, so it's really great that you guys are going towards there and you're making a point to let people know that it's there. Wow, this is fun. This is very different than the Verdejo.
Viura, it's also Macabeo. It's the same grape.
Nice.
Macabeo is used a lot in cava.
Cava, yes.
To make cava in Penedès, and in Rioja it's called Viura.
I love it, because I feel like this is, to me, is a little less tropical, but you do got that just ripe sweet fruit on there. That's very, it's prettier to me. It's almost rounder overall, even though it's still like 100% stainless steel and doesn't see any oak. And there's just something like very delicate and a little further back in the glass that you wanted to.
I'm actually gonna grab a glass myself.
Yeah, please. Yes.
So Cune stands, a lot of people ask this question, because if you look at the name of the wine, it's Cune, C-U-N-E. But if you look at the logo of the winery, it's actually C-V-N-E.
Right.
So a lot of people ask, oh, what's the difference? People that are familiar with the winery, sometimes I see Cune, sometimes I see C-V-N-E. What's the difference between the two?
Yes.
So the winery, it's CVNE, and it stands for Compañía Vinícola del Norte de España, Northern Spain Wine Company, right? So that's the winery. The wine, it's Cune, C-U-N-E, and it was actually a typo. So back in the early 1900s, when they, released their first wine, they told this guy, oh, can you draw the label for this wine that we've produced, and we want to name it after the winery, and we've named the winery CVNE, no? And this guy thought, well, I'm sure they meant C-U-N-E, because you can't really pronounce a C and a V together.
Right.
So he did all these labels by hand. Obviously back then we didn't have all this proving, and proving. So it was a good mistake, because it stayed like that. And the wine it's C-U-N-E and the winery C-V-N-E.
That's a great story.
So it's I always say it was a good mistake, because it's much easier to say Cune than C-V-N-E or Compañía Vinícola del Norte de España. So yeah,
and you have to say it with an accent. Like, I can't do that. That's amazing.
I practice.
You practice? Nice.
Every day.
Oh, this is so fun. I feel like both of your white wine is like much riper on the nose, but on the mouth is very clean, crisp, and refreshing. So it's a really good contrast, I feel like. Because it's not heavy, then it's a little more food friendly, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, and that's the whole idea. I mean, even with the red wines as well, at the end of the day for us, back in Spain, it's really important to drink wine with food. I mean, wine, it's meant to, be drunk with food.
Correct.
I mean, not necessarily, it's not a rule, but, for us in Spain, that's like what people have in their mind. So the acidity, it's really important for us, be able to, produce wines that have really good acidity. It's, it's always key.
Yes. What would you pair this wine with?
I mean, this wine, of course, it can go with your usual suspects, like, clams, like seafood and shellfish. And salads, but it goes really well with any white meat. So like with pork, with chicken, things like that. I mean, it's a very versatile white wine.
I can totally see that. Love it. Awesome.
Hey, thank you for watching. Don't forget to go on to www.angieson.com and subscribe to my mailing list so you don't miss any of the rest of this series.